This flying house was made with only command blocks in vanilla Minecraft, and here's how I did it. So before we could even start to build a flying house, we needed a regular house that we could launch into the air. So that's what I built here, and as you can see, I went through a couple different iterations of this house before eventually settling on the last one, which was simple, and it wasn't too big, so that it would be easy to attach wings and launch it into the sky. So now that we had our nice little house here, I set up a couple command blocks to be able to make this thing fly. So basically what this does is it spawns an armor stand, which is going to teleport forward, and every time it teleports forward, it's going to clone the command to the armor stand's position. And then afterwards, it's going to set the entire area around the house to air to clear the previous one. But to be honest, a floating house that speeds off into the distance does not look very visually appealing. So the next step was to actually give this thing proper wings. So my plan for the wings was to build 10 or 11 different frames of wing. Then we could stitch them together and form our very own Minecraft stop motion animation of a house flying. So I got the help of a couple friends to build all of these house models with wings, and this took us about 4 hours to build all of these. We planned out all of the designs with this rainbow wing pattern that you can see here. Alright, so I've gone ahead and moved all of these houses into the air so that we can properly clone them into the area that we need them. And I must say, it looks pretty ridiculous having all of these in line. It almost looks like some sort of massive alien ribcage. So the most efficient way to clone all of these in order is to teleport an armor stand from one to the next, and then use relative coordinates to clone it into the area that we need. So if we set up some blocks here that will cover the boundary of each individual house, and the armor stand is going to teleport onto each of these, clone the area, and then go to the next one. Okay, here's the moment of truth. So if we press this button, we should see an armor stand spawn on the first gold block, which it has. And when we flick this lever, we should see the entire animation. There's been a lot of stuff leading up to this point. Let's see if it works. Well, it says it's cloning it. Okay, so the issue was that the armor stand was inside the block rather than on top of the block, meaning that the block underneath it wasn't gold, so it wasn't teleporting. But now, it should be working properly. So if we spawn a new armor stand, there we go, now it's on top of the block. We have a flying house! This is amazing. It's flapping its wings. Now, of course, I do see a couple immediate issues, like how the wing just teleports back to the bottom as soon as it's done flapping, and doesn't instead flap back down again, so we can fix that, but this is incredible so far. I am loving every second of this. Once we get this thing moving through the sky, it is going to look so awesome. So now when it reaches the end, instead of just teleporting back, the armor stand will move back at the same rate as it moves forward. And now that it's all working, I am honestly so happy with how this turned out so far. So now that we've got our amazing animation, the next step is to actually make the house fly. And for that, once again, we're going to be using armor stands. So rather than just having the house move off in one direction like this one does here, we want to have the house actually bob up and down as the wings flap. And one of the best ways that a player can simulate motion is by using the motion NBT data on an entity. So for example, if we modify this armor stand's entity data to have a vertical motion value set to 3, then when we hit enter, the armor stand flies up into the air. To explain this a little bit better, any entity that moves has 3 motion values. The first one is for their X motion, the second one is for their Y motion, and the third one is for their Z motion. When using the data modify command, you can select one value to change at a time, or you can do them all at once. Now, in the entity's NBT data, these 3 motion values are stored in a list. So if you want to change the first one, you target motion 0, which is X. If you want to change Y, you would do motion 1, and if you want to change Z, you would do motion 2. So if I use the NBT selector motion 0, it's going to move in the X direction, in this case, negative X. On the other hand, if we want to make our armor stand go vertically, then we would modify motion 1, which is Y. And using a command like this, we can even modify multiple values at the same time. And then we chain them together. As you can see, the armor stand bobs along, and that could be the flight path of our house. So through a painstaking process of trial and error, I found that the perfect motion value to set the armor stand so that it bobs up and down perfectly right when the house flaps is going to be 0.625, and you can see it pretty much stays at a consistent Y level. So now all that should be left to do is modifying the animation so that rather than cloning it to a specific coordinate, we clone it to the armor stand's position. Okay, so now hopefully the entire house should be done. So if I flick this lever, we should see a house sprout from here and start flying off into the distance. Well, this is laggy. This. So I won't make you guys sit through the boring process of me trying to figure this out. I'll just get it done and then come back to you when it's all finished. And roughly an hour later, the entire thing is now finished. So if we grab out some redstone, and let's turn on both of these at the same time, like we did previously, we should see ourselves get a very own flying house. It's beautiful. And if you like this video, consider subscribing. I spend tens of hours on these videos and I'm not even monetized, so subscribing is the best way to show your support. If you want to download this, the link is in the description, and thanks for watching!